Well, that was I don't even know what adjective to use. That was absolutely dreadful. Tigers lose 1-0. Let's talk about it. I can't wait. All today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. Almost said 22. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Well, the Detroit Tigers lose a ridiculous baseball game. They lose to the Kansas City Royals by a score of 1-0. Very, very frustrating game, obviously. That's probably a use that I will word that I will use, not a use that I will word. A lot throughout this episode. Frustrating. And there's a few reasons why. One is obviously just getting shut out at any point is unbelievably frustrating. Getting shut out by one of the worst pitching staffs I've ever seen is even more frustrating. Don't really care which one of the pitchers it is, to be honest with you. Getting shut out by anybody in the Royals rotation at the moment is a failure at work that day. Lynch specifically, that's his first win of the season. This is a guy who I never intend or want to disrespect anybody playing baseball at the major league level. You are far better at your job than I am. You are, you know what I mean? Like that's one of you're one of the best in the world at what you do, right? So I never want to disrespect anybody who is playing Major League Baseball. That being said, when it comes to Lynch specifically, this dude has almost 50 starts under his belt in his career. He's like 9-22 record, an ERA of about 5.3, and a WHIP of over 1.5. This season, his ERA going into this game was about 6, over 6. Hadn't recorded a win yet. And now his ERA is like 4.5. And he's 1-3 on the season. I've said it a lot. I'll say it again. No disrespect intended toward Lynch. But I'm just very tired of the broader picture and the broader concept that every single pitcher has the potential to shove against my baseball team. That's the frustrating part. And it happens time and time and time again. And I'm just so tired of it. I'm so tired of we say it all the time. Like, I'm tired of being everybody's get right game. Everybody's get right game is the Detroit Tigers. Oh, you're struggling? You haven't pitched well lately? Well, circle the Detroit Tigers. And that happened yet again. And we'll talk about the offense specifically later and kind of what went wrong. But it's also frustrating. One of the weirder concepts that has been a trend throughout this season is that the Tigers offense acts as if the fastball changeup, like tunneling combination low in the zone, was invented 2 weeks ago. And it's like some revolutionary thing that no one has ever seen before. And it's one of the simplest tunneling methods in the sport. Like, it's one of the first things you're taught. Like when you're a pitcher or if you're a catcher and you're, receiving and calling games or whatnot, like one of the first combinations you're taught is low fastball followed by low changeup. Like, just mix them well. And like, again, this is a major league pitcher, and he obviously has gotten here for a reason and could absolutely do that to a majority, 99.9% of the population. Absolutely. But he's going up against other major leaguers, and it's just fascinating to me that every single time we get a pitcher with that mix, he only threw 2 pitches. He threw 10 non-fastball changeups the entire game. 7 sliders, 3 curveballs. And between those two, not a single one of them was a strike of those 10. 0 called strikes, 0 swinging miss strikes. So he threw 2 pitches, a fastball and a changeup, and the Tigers could do absolutely nothing with it. They only had 2 strikeouts against him. He only struck him out. He only had 2 Ks. He had 2 Ks and 2 walks. But here we are, just completely fooled and no ability to hit the ball hard. They had a couple of long outs, but certainly not anything that would be like, oh, look how unlucky they got. No, they got dominated by a dude whose ERA was over 6 going into this game. So frustrating. So frustrating and so tired of it. I do want to talk about the medical update that was sent throughout the organization. The PR department releases one every week. We talk about it all the time. I do want to discuss that, and then we'll get into the game itself, kind of more, break it down more. We got to talk about the lineup and how a lack of a certain player in it. But first, let's talk about this medical update. So Akil Baddoo returns to like a running progression, and that should kind of be it for him. Like he'll have a couple of rehab starts just because he hasn't faced live pitching in a while at this point. But like it's a quad injury, so there shouldn't be anything like with the swing or like make sure, should just be like once he's running without pain and with trust in his quads, then he should be good. Bo Brisky is in AAA now, so that's kind of exciting. Hopefully he's another step closer. Alex Faedo threw a bullpen session on Tuesday. Riley Green completing a return to play running progression. Oh, I hope he's back soon. I'm kind of eyeing the All-Star break. I would imagine that would be right after the All-Star break, but that's kind of my first inclination. That would be, like the 6 to 6-ish week range. I guess that's me trying to be optimistic here, but they also refuse to use the word fracture. They keep saying stress reaction, which is very fascinating to me. So yeah, he's like playing catch and hitting balls into the cage or whatever, but just needs to, prove that he can run, obviously. Matt Manning has another rehab start in AAA Toledo on Thursday, this Thursday on the 22nd. Casey Mize is playing catch 5 times this week and is scheduled to throw a box bullpen tomorrow. That's today as you're listening to this, the 21st. I still have no inclination that Casey Mize will pitch in a Tigers uniform this season. I know there's a lot of people that are, to me, like weirdly holding out hope for that to happen. He had like a pretty significant back surgery and Tommy John. I would be stunned if he pitched at the end of the season, especially like we're going to be out of it. Like, I don't know. I don't see any world in which that happens. But we'll keep an eye on it. Eduardo Rodriguez throws a bullpen, and he's supposed to throw a live BP on Saturday. Great sign. The next step after a couple of live BPs is rehab. So hopefully that renders true and he's back sooner rather than later. Tarek Skubal supposed to make another rehab start in AAA on Wednesday today as you're listening to this. And then, Matt Vierling's on here, but he pinch hit on Tuesday, so I can't imagine that that's too terribly serious. Then Trey Winginter is scheduled to throw out of the bullpen on Tuesday night. Spencer Turnbull's on there too, but it's just a whole lot of we don't know. I could talk about that situation forever, as you all know. We kind of talked about it yesterday. Okay, let's get into the ballgame. Let's talk about the lineup. That's where I want to start. But first, I got to tell y'all about our friends over at Game Time. The Tigers were not clutch in this ballgame on Tuesday night, but Game Time is. You can forget planning months in advance. Game Time has tickets and deals on up to the day of the event. You can get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. The Game Time guarantee also means you will 100% always get the best price. And the reason for that is because if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're all set. They're sent directly to your phone. You don't have to dig through your wallet, your purse, your email, etc. Just straight to your phone. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We'll be back tomorrow recapping the series finale against the Kansas City Royals. Look, there is no excuse to not win this series. I don't even care. Genuinely. I don't. I'm still not going to say the W word, but like, there is no excuse to not win this game. None. You should have swept this team. And the fact that you're Kerry Carpenter away from being down 0-2 is pathetic and embarrassing. So go win the series. Let's come on. Golly. Okay, so Detroit Tigers lose 1-0. We're starting with the lineup here. Kerry Carpenter, nowhere to be seen. And the lineup card, no Zach McKinstry, no Kerry Carpenter. Zach McKinstry hasn't been doing well in the month of June, really at all. His OPS is now down to 712. It's plummeted. It was over 800 at one point in late May, early June. Now barely above 700. That one doesn't bother me as much. It shouldn't bother you as much either, especially with a lefty on the mound. Kerry Carpenter, a lot of people got really upset that he wasn't in the lineup. And I mean, I agree. Anticlimactic. Like that is, I think it's preposterous. And in general, throughout this season, we have had a plethora of conversations about AJ Hinch's lineup card and the lineup management and how he sets matchups up, righty, lefty, certain pitcher, et cetera, et cetera. I don't even care. There is no excuse to not have Carpenter in the lineup in this ball game. And when we talk about AJ Hinch, I tend to side with AJ more than the general public does with this kind of stuff. I think that this is a roster that has so many like 4A players on it, even just like straight up AAA players on it, that I can't blame AJ for wanting to play the matchups 1 through 9 every single night, every single game. But Kerry Carpenter at this point needs to be in the lineup every night. And there's a few reasons as to why this game specifically really bothered me. Okay, so we already have just the fact that he's your best hitter. That's, everybody can see that. That's the reason why everybody's frustrated. But the next step would then to be look at the righty lefty splits. And Kerry Carpenter hasn't hit lefties poorly this year. Now, he's only had, I believe it's 9 plate appearances against left-handed pitching all season. And the reason for that is because AJ Hinch doesn't let him face lefties. But in the 9 plate appearances he's had against lefties, he has a walk, he has a homer, he has an OPS of over 1,100. Now, again, that's a very, very small sample size. If he goes 0 for 3 or 0 for 4 against a lefty one day, that's going to plummet down to like the 8 or 700s, right? But the fact of the matter is, in the situations you have put him in against left-handed pitching this season, he has not struggled. He hasn't. 2022 Kerry Carpenter had an OPS under 600 against lefties in a decent sample size, and an OPS of almost 900, mid 800s, whatever, against righties. This year is not last year, and when your team is this bad offensively, like, why are we saving roster spots and at bats, I guess I should say, for Eric Haas and Jonathan Scope? I know Scope is playing third, Kerry Carpenter, whatever. That doesn't make sense. Fine. Eric Haas, same conversation. He has a 212 average and a 564 OPS. I love the dude. And I hope every day he turns it around, because last year he was awful for the first 2 months of the season and then did turn it around. But that has not happened. And I don't understand. And the next part I'll go to is just the lefty matchup in this game specifically, right? Lynch goes out there. He threw 2 pitches. He threw fastballs and changeups. That's it. So it'd be one thing to me, at least optically, if this dude is a crazy good sweeper, right? Lefty lefty is heck for left-handed hitters against him because he can just, get the slider low and away, get the curveball low and away, get the sweeper low and away. Any big loopy pitch that lefty lefty you can pound low and away, I totally understand. You know what? Carpenter really struggles with those. We're going to take him out of the lineup. He has two pitches and he just hit a changeup 900 feet. It was like 350 for a go-ahead homer yesterday. And no, it wasn't against a lefty, but and yes, his stats against fastballs are significantly better than his stats against breaking balls and changeups. We've talked about that all year, but since coming off the IL, they're a lot better. And he's hitting the ball to all parts of the field. He's hitting non-fastballs a lot better. Again, just hit a non-fastball for a home run not 24 hours ago to win you a ball game. I really, really, and again, like I'm a person who more times than not, I side with AJ on these lineup cards. That I thought this was inexcusable. I do not understand it for the life of me. And it really, really frustrated me. Really frustrated me. So that all happened before the game even started. And then the game starts. They get sliced and diced by Lynch, who, again, we already read his stats. We don't need to go over those again. But they weren't getting struck out a boatload. They didn't, again, two strikeouts, 10 or 11 whiffs. That's like a pretty middle of the road number. I think he had 9 on the changeup specifically. But outside of that, only 2 whiffs on non-changeups. It was just anything in the strike zone they couldn't do anything with. And we can kind of go, Zach Short had 2 more walks in this game. Thank goodness. Spencer Torkelson, 0 for 4. In the last week, his batting average is back to under 200. This dude just, I'm sure it's frustrating for him just as it's frustrating for all of us. So I'm not just going to be like, oh, poor me. Like, I'm sure it's frustrating as heck for him too. But cannot string good, like consistent results and performances together. Just cannot. Like, we'll go on an absolute heater for a week, and then the next 3, 4, 5 games, it's right back where he started. I didn't think any of his at-bats in this ballgame were good. I was pretty disappointed with all 4 ABs. And there weren't any strikeouts. He went 0 for 4, no walks, no Ks, but pop-outs, routine grounders, just was not able to do any. Came up in the biggest moment of the game, right? There was bases loaded, 2 outs against Aroldis Chapman. Swung through 2 pitches and then hit a routine ground ball to shortstop. It's frustrating. That's the word I'm going to continue to use. It's frustrating. Andy Ibanez gets another hit. Javi Baez with 3 of the most, immature is honestly the word I want to use. At-bats, you'll see. I think in the first 3 ABs, he saw 5 or 6 pitches total. And that was a theme throughout everybody. Everybody except Zach Short throughout this entire game just refused to work the count against a dude who hadn't won a game yet and had an ERA over 6, is 9-22 in his career. And we were just like, yeah, let's just go up there and just hack, dude. This will be easy. He's a major leaguer. Unbelievable stuff. It's not unbelievable. It's actually way too believable, which is the really sad part. Jonathan Scope has we'll get into Jonathan Scope after. I realize I'm going to talk about that for a minute. We'll do that right after I tell y'all about our friends over at Margs. This episode is brought to you by Margs Sparkling Margaritas. You guys know I love a good drink, and I've been trying to find a replacement to the typical White Claws and High Noons of the world. Thank goodness I stumbled upon Margs. Their refreshing, ready-to-drink sparkling margaritas have officially become my go-to cocktail. They're crafted with Rio Blanco tequila. They're clean, crisp, and they genuinely taste so good. They've got 5 unique flavors. There's something for everyone to enjoy. I love these the most kicking back after work, watching a game on the weekends, or just hanging with friends. This summer, I can't wait to continue to pack my cooler with Margs for backyard barbecues, boat trips, and days at the beach. Margs are the drink of the summer, no question about it. And they're going to be the perfect tailgate season drink this fall as well. So visit sipmargs.com to find a retailer near you. That's SIPMARGS.com to find a retailer near you. Must be 21 or older to enjoy. Cheers, and please drink responsibly. All right, everybody, welcome back. Third and final segment here of Locked On Tigers. I appreciate y'all so much for continuing to tune in, even when this team gets shut out. So we talked about it a little bit at the beginning too, but like one of the other reasons why this offense has been so frustrating is they continue to get shut out at a very not good rate. But when they do score runs, they put up 6. It's so mind-boggling to me. Like they haven't had, ever since the losing streak ended, they haven't had very many games where they've put up like 2 runs or 3 runs. They've lost games in which they've put up 7, 8, 6, right? Not sure why I said it in that order, but like, you know what I mean? Like they are consistently put up the average runs per game over the last like week or maybe even 10 games is pretty solid. The issue is they've still been shut out multiple times in that stretch. And when you look at who they are going up against, then it gets even more mind-boggling. Joe Ryan torched him. Sonny Gray looked fantastic. Great approach. Spencer Strider tagged him early. 3 homers against him in the first couple of innings of the ballgame. The Royals throw out 2 of the worst everyday qualified 5th starters in baseball. Shutout. And I guess we ended yesterday with 6 runs, but Lyles was only responsible for 3. And 2, I think he got pulled. He had only given up 1 run when he got pulled from the game. It doesn't make sense. I don't really have words. It's mind-boggling. Truly mind-boggling. Jonathan Scope is what we were talking about before the break there. Like once every 2 weeks, he'll have a game where I'll watch him and go, I'll be honest, I would not be shocked if Jonathan Scope was DFA'd after this ballgame. This was another one of those. And yes, he had a fly ball to the warning track. Sure, it was an out, but like he almost had his first homer of the year because we play for almost for sure. But he goes 0 for and has 2 should have been errors. I'm not sure what baseball is doing with the way they record errors these days. It's laughable, to be honest with you. The Tigers end this game with no errors. Jonathan Scope easily should have had 2. Easily. One, he couldn't grab the ball out of his glove. Salvador Perez beats out an infield single. And then the other one bounced right here, just popped out of the mitt. Those are both errors. I'm not sure what we're doing, but okay. So yeah, was dreadful in the field. Continues to go over. His numbers on the season. What does he have? A 198 average and a 528 OPS. Eric Haas, 212 average, 564 OPS. Marisnik, 186 average, 518 OPS. Javi Baez, 622 OPS. Andy Ibanez was the 3-hitter in this game, and people laughed. He had, the 3rd, 4th highest OPS in the lineup tonight? What you laughing at? He's actually been on a heater lately, too. Didn't mind it. But Kerry Carpenter not being in this lineup while we need Eric Haas to hit against the lefty right now. Really? I don't think we do. I don't. I don't think we need Eric Haas to get his ABs against lefties. I really don't. Same with Jonathan Scope, but Kerry Carpenter's not a third baseman. Okay, let's talk about Michael Lorenzen. He was a bright spot in this ballgame. Michael Lorenzen looked very, very sharp. He ends up going 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, and 7 Ks. I thought the first inning and a half, 2 innings, he looked pretty brutal, and I was really, really worried that we were about to get blown out by the Kansas City Royals. Instead, we get, honestly, maybe a more frustrating result. But he really locked in after like the fourth or fifth batter in the lineup. Once he got through that, he kind of honestly kind of cruised the rest of the game. Gave up a couple of like seeing eye hits, but didn't get crushed. Didn't give up a ton of extra base hits. The walks all came early, really locked in later, and also got absolutely hosed by awful defense behind him, and still was able to overcome it and only give up the one earned run. So yeah, I thought he was really sharp. He continues to be kind of a two-pitch pitcher, but the two pitches he uses depends on what handness the batter is. But yeah, I mean, really no complaints at all. 13 whiffs, again, 7 strikeouts, 31% CSW percentage, called strikes plus whiffs percentage. He was good. He was effective. I really enjoyed. He like after the second inning, really attacked the strike zone. Stopped kind of trying to nibble and just went after dudes. And against a Royals lineup that's as decimated and bad as this is, that's how you should be. You shouldn't be nibbling against the Kansas City Royals. Just go attack, and you should still be able to win ball games. So yeah, also threw 7 sweepers in this game, which like he has the slider we know about, but he threw 7 like distinctly more loopy pitches than his normal slider. Threw 12 of those as well, but like there was a clear difference in the pitch, and that was kind of interesting to me. So we'll see if that tends to be a trend going forward. But yeah, for the most part, he's going to be fastball, changeup, and then if you're a lefty, he's gonna throw the slider at you as well. Yeah, so he was good. I don't really have too much else to add, to be honest. I don't have like a huge in-depth thing. Just like he did his job, and the fact that he's going to get tagged with a loss in this one, I think, is pathetic. But that's how it goes. Another quality start for him. Gave you innings, checked off every single box. I have a hard time believing that anyone would have asked for more from Michael Lorenzen in this ball game. In the bullpen, Chasen Shreve, I thought he looked really, really sharp. He threw a sweeper in this outing. Most of the time for Shreve, we're used to the four-seam fastball and the splitter. In this ball game, he threw 4 of his 14 pitches were this big loopy sweeper, and it kind of excited me a little bit. It got only one swing on it, and the 4 times it was offered, but it was a swing and a miss. And he did have a called strike on it as well. So 50% CSW percentage, right? 2 strikes on 4 pitches thrown. And it wasn't put in play a single time. Nobody even made contact with it. So I don't know. I kind of liked it. I'm not sure if that was just like we're going to keep him throw him off guard here and try and throw a pitch that you're not used to seeing. But I thought it looked pretty sharp. He had good movement on it. I thought the swing and miss, especially, I thought was set up really, really well. Jake Rogers did a great job behind the plate again. Yeah, thought it was nice. Then Jose Cisnero goes 1 2/3, 2 strikeouts of perfect ball. This, I feel like the last 3 or 4 outings he's had, every single time I've said, this is the best Jose Cisnero outing of the year. This is the best Jose Cisnero outing of the year. He's looked good. He's looked really, really good. The fastball topped out at 97 in this ball game. The cutter looked good. But the biggest thing in this game, I would challenge anybody to find an outing this season in which Jose Cisneros' changeup moved and looked better than it did on Tuesday night's game. I thought it was a disgusting pitch. It was lethal. It was also, I mean, it was very effective. He only threw it 4 times. It had 3 whiffs. He looked phenomenal out there. And again, like for a guy who's usually a 1-inning reliever, to go out there and give them almost 2 innings of work when they desperately, I'm going to keep saying it, need innings out of their pen. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. We're going into the finale tomorrow, and then we will have a day off on Thursday, a much needed day off at that. So yeah, for this finale, the Tigers play the Royals at 1:10 Eastern time. Brady Singer against Matthew Boyd. Brady Singer has had a very, very rough season. He started off really brutal, and then has gotten a little bit better lately. But for the most part, this is still, I mean, he got a 6.3 ERA on the year. Please do not lose a series to the Kansas City Royals. You can't. You can't justify that. You can't look yourself in the mirror after this game if you lose on Wednesday and think that this season, okay, I don't want to get too dramatic. I'm not trying to say that like this is the season. Okay. I got a little carried away there, but genuinely though, like there's no excuse to lose a series to those. There's no, you should have swept them. You should have swept them. And I said it earlier, but you were Kerry Carpenter away from going into this game already down 0-2. If it wasn't for a Kerry Carpenter home run on Monday, we'd be talking about what two? You scored 2 runs without that homer, 3, and then a shutout against against just in general the worst rotation in baseball. Them are the A's. The A's are pretty bad. But you get my point. And Brady Singer has the same numbers as the last 2 guys. It's been no better. Now, this dude in his career has dominated the Tigers, but you already faced him once this year and you tagged him. Zero excuse. Matthew Boyd had a good outing his last time out. Hopefully he can repeat that against a not very good Royals lineup. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Detroit Tigers. Oh my gosh, are we still only 4 games out? Did the Twins lose? Let's check this really quick. This is great radio. Wow, yeah, the Twins got destroyed. So the Detroit Tigers at 10 games under 500 are 4 games out of first place, baby. Shut out the AL Central with the 36-38 Minnesota Twins at the top of the division. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen. Every single day, we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We'll be back tomorrow recapping the finale against the Kansas City Royals. Be sure to check out the SiriusXM Tigers broadcast. You can just open the SiriusXM app, search Detroit Tigers, and you will get the home broadcast come up on that app. Great way to listen to the ball game. Gosh, what a frustrating game. Well, I feel like I have more to say, but I think I'm just going to let it be. Frustrating game. Don't let it happen again. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch you all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.